I don't got no problem with Tank or nothing like that. He cool, you know what I'm saying? Cool nigga. Like I see him from time to time. We know a lot of the same people. And we be out or whatever the case may be. We've been out before.
And how about you and Isaac Cruz?
I ain't got time. Tell him hold the belts. I'll whoop his ass for free.
Easy work.
No, not for free, but not for them damn belts.
Right away, Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach are having their first face-offs. And if you ever doubted the intensity of the fight, you could change your mind already. It's all right to doubt Lamont Roach's boxing resume and his boxing abilities, but you may be very wrong if you think a Gervonta Davis fight would lack the intensity, skill, build-up, and masterclass that characterizes a top-notch boxing match. Hence, the face-off between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis, albeit a virtual one, has been nothing short of dramatic and intense. As you would expect, Gervonta Davis is usually the sleeping lion until he's provoked, and then he begins to roar even louder than his opponents.
He's at 35, so I don't blame him for fighting that way. But he's not a big 35. I don't see why people would like, oh, you brought up a smaller guy, woo-de-woo, blah, blah. You know, I mean.
Right now, Tank still seems like the sleeping lion he is, but he's starting to show himself to Lamont Roach in the same manner he did to Frank Martin earlier this year. It'll be his 31st career fight, and he's expected to extend his boxing record to 31-0 and most likely extend his knockout wins to 29 knockout victories in 31 fights. But it's just a little different here. Davis and Roach both have a history in the amateurs, which makes it even more intense. As for their amateur history, we saw this play out a few months ago between Ken Haney and Ryan Garcia, and how their shared amateur history induced so much animosity between the fighters, and how eventually we saw that it wasn't a fight of an underdog, not even when they were 3-3 in the amateurs. Here, Gervonta Davis is up 2-0 against Lamont Roach, and the 130-pounder has recently claimed there was a robbery against him when they first fought. And really, there's no better time for Lamont Roach to right his wrongs than now, as he has the opportunity within his arm's reach to become the first fighter ever to come out victorious against Gervonta Davis. It's boxing. Nothing is impossible. Interestingly, Lamont Roach is gearing himself up for the biggest moment of his career. He wants more than just a big payday from Gervonta Davis. He wants Gervonta Davis's belt, he wants revenge, and his training camp experience is bringing him closer to that every day. However, when it comes to this face-off, Gervonta Davis comes with a better list of defeated opponents, even if many expect such a list to feature many more high-profile fighters. Gervonta Davis has racked up wins against Isaac Cruz, Ryan Garcia, and Hector Garcia. There have been other respectable matches taken on and taken out by Davis in the past few years, some of which look even better in hindsight, such as Tank's 11th round technical knockout of Mario Barrios in June 2021 and a unanimous decision over Isaac Pitbull Cruz in December 2021. Barrios.
Yeah, Tank's my guy too, man. I appreciate him shouting me out after the win. And you know what's crazy? After he beat Hector,
a junior welterweight at the time, has since moved up to 147, defeated Yadinis Ugas, and been bestowed a world title. Cruz went up to 140 and dethroned Rolando Romero, another past Davis victim, for the WBA belt. Cruz recently lost that title to Jose Rayo Valenzuela. Yet boxing fans have wanted to see Davis go beyond the second tier and test his talent against the other top names at 135. There have been many reasons those fights haven't happened over the years.
Do you still see Lomachenko, man? Do you feel, though, that he's a step off, or do you still feel, though, that he still got everything he needs?
I always thought he was overrated.
This time, they just weren't available. The other world titles belonged to Vasyl Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, and Dennis Pinnock. Negotiations between Davis and Lomachenko came to an end when Lomachenko's team said he didn't want to get back in the ring for the remainder of the year, that he didn't feel motivated to fight, and preferred to spend time with his family. Lamont Roach may not even have the caliber of names on Gervonta Davis's WAC resume, and he already has a career loss, but a few boxing fans are hopeful something good can come out of him. Lamont Roach has bounced back with 6 consecutive wins since his only career loss, a decision defeat to Jamal Herring in 2019. His most notable victory came last November when he edged out Hector Garcia by split decision to claim a world title. Interestingly, Garcia was previously stopped by Gervonta Davis in the 9th round in January 2023 at lightweight, about 10 months before losing to Roach at 130. But while Roach has shown noticeable improvement, it's difficult to imagine him posing a significant threat to Davis.
At 30.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have to go with Tank.
What does he need to do to make this competitive?
Don't trade with him. You got to box, move, time, but it's different.
However, the fight is feasible and could take place either in Davis's hometown of Baltimore or, more likely, in Washington, D.C., where Davis headlined for his fight against Hector Garcia. Despite Roach being from D.C., the bout is expected to be a box office success. The main concerns with this matchup stem from Lamont Roach's lack of recognition, his smaller size, and his unproven knockout power. Moving up in weight is already a tough challenge for any fighter, but Roach faces an even greater hurdle against one of the hardest punchers in the lightweight division.
If there's a championship on the line, because those belts are freeing up.
Yeah, they are.
Definitely, for sure. I'm not a super small 130-pounder.
Yeah.
Roach was a decorated amateur, winning gold medals at the National Golden Gloves and USA Boxing Youth National Championships in 2013. He made his professional debut the following year, shortly after signing with Golden Boy Promotions while studying at the University of Maryland. He went undefeated in his first 20 fights, collecting 3 minor belts before he unsuccessfully challenged Jamal Herring for his WBO super featherweight title in 2019. On the other hand, Gervonta Davis, a 29-year-old from Baltimore, has had a notable career moving across various divisions. Davis began as a featherweight in 2013, but it was in 2017 that he established himself in the junior lightweight division after knocking out Jose Pedraza for a world title. Since then, he has fought in several weight classes, including lightweight and junior welterweight, before returning to 135 pounds. Both fighters have a slight height difference.
He was, technically bigger than Tank too, but Tank is comfortable at.
Roach stands at 1.70 m, while Davis is 1.65 m tall, reinforcing the idea that the physical difference will not be a decisive factor in the fight. Lamont Roach emphasized that his opponent feels comfortable at 135 pounds, but doesn't consider him a big lightweight. Gervonta Davis released a fight poster for his title defense fight against Lamont Roach Jr. This fight is scheduled for December 14th at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, which comes with a PPV, but in this case, after announcing the fight, Davis deleted the notice, and fans and pundits pondered over the relevance of the fight. Let's dive into the story to understand the full picture.
People was like, oh, you brought up a smaller guy, woo-de-woo, blah, blah, blah. To me personally, I'm not stunned that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to keep saying that. They're going to keep saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Gervonta Davis stands at 30 wins, 28 of which he has finished with knockouts to his name. He doesn't have a loss, and though he may not necessarily be popular, he has some true and loyal fans. However, there are emerging fears within his management that the fight will not get the projected pay-per-view sales figures. Some critics of the social network criticized the fight, calling it non-PPV worthy and stating whether fans would be willing to pay $75.95 for what they perceive as a less-than-stellar matchup. This sentiment could lead to disappointing buy rates for the event, especially if the fight doesn't create the sort of hype that usually accompanies a pay-per-view event.
30 because that's what I campaigned at. That's why I started my career. That's where I campaigned. That's why I worked my way up to a world title. And that's what I was.
A Davis title defense that set quite a spark when some pointed out that John Davis has sparred with Lamont Roach in the past and even fought him in the amateurs. And while many thought the choice was interesting, many were left wondering why Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, thought it was done because he knows Roach well. It was more of community support. However, such reasons will not be appealing to fans who want Davis to pit against much harder competitors. Davis is already on the threshold of turning 30 with his birthday on November 7th.
My plan was always to move up to 35 and win another title. So it just happened a little earlier than normal.
Yeah.
Questions about his career arise. In his professional career that spans 11 years, Davis has not experienced competing with someone of his level. He has had many chances to face other top-ranked lightweights in the division, but for some reason, he has always opted for fights against less famous opponents. This latest decision to fight Lamont Roach Jr. is looked at by many as another bad choice of opponents. That he is choosing not to face Gervonta Davis's indifference to fans is clear in his fight selections, often ignoring their preferences. It seems that he intends to defend whoever he desires the most.
You fought at 35 before.
Them was just, so technically them wasn't just 35 fights, in the when a boxer starting their career, they don't necessarily.
Whether the people support it or not. I mean, you fought at 35 before it was just so technically there wasn't just 35 fights. You know, like when a boxer is starting their career, they don't necessarily. Although he agrees that he would wish for fan support on this, he does not seem to mind if they do not buy into this matchup. In the days leading to the fight, there has been a split among boxing experts regarding the significance of Gervonta Davis's fight against Roach, with questions being asked about the entertainment value of the fight and the type of fighter that Davis will be matching himself against. The question that remains is whether Davis can bring back anticipation and the cash of his critics instead. Fans can only dream of a future fight that would reveal John Davis at the level of his opponent and abilities.
Really have to make 130 pounds because we're not in title contention or none of that. So the opponents that I was getting, the opponents that were there or were available, the opponents that were selected for me were probably bigger or they just couldn't.
The World Boxing Association approved Roach moving up to challenge for the title on September 30th, stating that he must return to junior lightweight to defend his title against Albert BGV should he lose against Davis. Davis is coming off an impressive stoppage of Frank Martin in June, while rumors and trash talk between the fighters had suggested a fight with Shakur Stevenson would be in Davis's future. That was always more likely to take place in 2025 than before the end of this year, with Davis, the biggest American star in boxing, needing an opponent. Roach gets an opportunity at a big money bout. Roach won his title in November 2023 with an upset of Hector Luis Garcia.
Weight, like the fight that you probably talking about that occurred at like 40, I was supposed to fight at 32. He was 8 pounds overweight. They made him lose weight.
He was the mandatory challenger for Rivera's title, recorded the biggest victory of his career after losing his first title fight 4 years ago. The 28-year-old Upper Marlboro, Maryland resident was beaten by Jamal Herring, then the World Boxing Organization junior lightweight champion, in a 12-rounder that was held in November 2019 at Chukchansi Park in Fresno, California. Garcia lost a second straight fight. The 32-year-old former champion fought for the first time since Gervonta Davis stopped him early in the 9th round of their fight for Davis's World Boxing Association World Lightweight title on January 7th at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. After taking 2 left hands from Garcia, Roach taunted the former champion and scored the above-mentioned debatable knockdown just after the halfway point of the 12th round. Garcia indicated to referee Tony Weeks that he had been hit behind his head. Once he quickly reached his feet, Gervonta "Tank" Davis rocked Hector Luis Garcia with a left hand in the closing moment of round 8. Prompting the underdog to retire on his stool ahead of the 9th round Saturday in Washington, D.C. Garcia absorbed a flurry of power shots on unsteady legs and later said, "I didn't know where I was when he hit me with that shot. My head still hurts. I couldn't see, but my vision is back." With the TKO, Davis keeps intact a planned April 15th super fight against Ryan Garcia in Las Vegas, though that matchup isn't yet official. Davis was ahead 79-73, 79-73, and 78-74 at the time of the stoppage. "I was trying to beat him mentally," said Davis, 28. "I was trying to trick him with my hands and my eyes and things like that because he's a tough fighter. I had to bait him. God willing, I'm ready for the fight with Ryan Garcia. It's scheduled for April. He's been training. He's been talking." Davis, who is typically a slow starter, didn't land many clean punches during the first 3 rounds as Garcia dictated the pace with his southpaw jab. Davis finally found his rhythm in round 4. The star boxer connected on a stinging counter right hand, and a couple of lefts that caught Garcia's attention in a fast-paced fourth.
That's the punch Avalar knocked him down, Garcia down.
Garcia is a 130 pounds title holder who moved up to 135 for the career-high payday, yet he was all too willing to stand in the pocket and trade with the bigger, stronger puncher. Davis, who was from nearby Baltimore and packed Capital One Arena with more than 19,000 fans, began to pot-shot Garcia in round 5 with lead left hands. He followed up with some powerful right hands and started to truly sit down on those shots toward the end of round 6. Tank was in control in round 8 when the fight was paused by the referee due to a dispute in the crowd at ringside.
But he lands that shot. One.
There's that left hand from Garcia.
Obviously was putting.
It was a highly unusual call from the official, who halted the action 58 seconds into the round as Davis stopped fighting due to the ruckus. The action resumed after nearly a minute, and when it did, Davis finally found the fight-ending punch he was looking for. A straight left hand that placed Garcia, 31, on wobbly legs. Davis capitalized with a series of blistering rights and lefts that led Garcia to retire on his stool moments later. Davis said he was a little surprised Garcia didn't come out for round 9 but knew he was hurt bad, but he's a fighter and didn't want to show it. Davis said, "There was a fight outside the ring, and then the fight resumed." Garcia said that's when Gervonta landed a really good punch against me, and it made my vision blurry. I was seeing double. I was there physically defending myself, but when I looked at him, all I could see was a blur. I remember watching the fight again on TV, and I saw myself going to the wrong corner, to Davis's corner, and the referee kind of turned me around like, "Nope, this isn't your corner. You've got to go that way." That made me say, "Oh damn, I was really messed up, huh?" And then the rest is history. How the fight got stopped and everything. But regarding Lamont Roach, as Gervonta Davis, boxing fans want the steak, but it looks like we may have to settle for the fish. It's not the main course we were hoping for, but it shouldn't leave a bad taste in our mouths, not given the circumstances at least, and it's certainly better than going hungry. You may claim it's the fight the fans don't want to see, but such an amazing night isn't a night fans would want to miss, as they have a stacked undercard set to involve boxing superstars like Jal Charo, David Benavidez, and Stephen Fulton. According to esteemed boxing journalist Dan Rafael, Brandon Figueroa will defend his WBC interim featherweight title in a rematch against Stephen Fulton in the co-feature attraction. Figueroa fell to a controversial majority decision loss to Fulton in November 2021 and will now get the opportunity to exact his revenge. Their inaugural encounter was an all-action affair, and the rematch is expected to produce more fireworks. Elsewhere on the bill, unbeaten former two-weight world champion Jal Charlo is set to continue his rebuild after being stripped of his WBC middleweight strap after a DWI arrest in May. According to Ring Magazine's Jake Donovan, he will face Thomas "Cornflake" Lamanna, who is best known for being knocked out in 80 seconds by Arislandi Lara in 2021. The third fight, which is slated to land on the Davis Roach undercard, is Alberto Pello versus Sandor Martin. Pello was recently upgraded from interim to full WBC super lightweight champion after Devin Haney vacated the title.